Hello, good evening, everybody. In the last session of reading the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, we saw that Robert Kiyosaki put a lot of stress and laid a lot of emphasis on developing financial intelligence, developing financial literacy. He educated us about why it is important to understand money and why it is important to understand taxation, the power of corporations, how the rich people pay taxes, that is, after they spend the money, and how the poor people or middle class people pay taxes, that is, on their total income, all of this. So, we will continue from where we had left, where Robert Kiyosaki gave examples of expenditure done by the rich people and the poor people. We'll continue reading. I have said it before, but it's worth repeating. Financial intelligence is made up of these four main technical skills. One, accounting. Accounting is financial literacy or the ability to read numbers. This is a vital skill if you want to build business or investments. Investing. Investing is the science of money making money. Understanding markets. Understanding markets is the science of supply and demand. Alexander Graham Bell gave the market what it wanted. So did Bill Gates. A $75,000 house offered for $60,000 that cost $20,000 was also the result of seizing an opportunity created by the market. Somebody was buying and somebody was selling. The law. The law is the awareness of accounting, corporate, state, and federal regulations. I recommend playing by the rules. It is this basic foundation or the combination of these skills that is needed to be successful in the pursuit of wealth, whether it be through the buying of small homes, apartment buildings, companies, stocks, bonds, precious metals, baseball cards, or the like. A few years later, the real estate market rebounded and everyone else was getting in. The stock market was booming and everyone was getting in. The US economy was getting back on its feet. I began selling and was now traveling to Peru, Norway, Malaysia, and the Philippines. The investment landscape had changed. We were no longer buying real estate. Now I just watch the values climb inside the asset column and will probably begin selling. I suspect that some of those six little house deals will sell and the $40,000 note will be converted to cash. I need to call my accountant to be prepared for cash and seek ways to shelter it. The point I would like to make is that investments come and go. The market goes up and comes down. Economies improve and crash. The world is always handing you opportunities of a lifetime every day of your life, but all too often we fail to see them. But they are there. And the more the world changes and the more technology changes, the more opportunities there will be to allow you and your family to be financially secure for generations to come. So, why bother developing your financial intelligence? Again, only you can answer that. I know why I continue to learn and develop. I do it because I know there are changes coming. I'd rather welcome change than cling to the past. I know there will be market booms and market crashes. I want to continually develop my financial intelligence because at each market change, some people will be on their knees begging for their jobs. Others, meanwhile, will take the lemons that life hands them, and we are all handed lemons occasionally and turn them into millions. That's financial intelligence. So Robert Kiyosaki says that he had bought a lot of real estate and now he wanted to sell them. See, the game of this financial intelligence or the game of investing intelligently is to know when to buy and when to sell. If you hold on to something forever, you don't make money. Robert says that markets go up and come down. When the markets go up, you have to sell, and when the markets go down, you have to buy. Knowing when to sell and when to buy is what will give you money. So if you are buying when the market is down and selling when the market is high, the difference between the low and high will be your profit margin, will be your income. That will be the return on your investment. So Robert says the need for developing financial intelligence is not just to make money once and live forever. It is because the market is changing continuously, it is going up and down, new opportunities are being created every day. And to be able to see those new opportunities and make use of those new opportunities, it is very important that you are financially aware and continuously developing as a knowledgeable individual with respect to finances. I am often asked about the lemons I have turned into millions. I hesitate using many more examples of personal investments because I am afraid it comes across as bragging or tooting my own horn. That is not my intention. I use the examples only as numerical and chronological illustrations of actual and simple cases. I use the examples because I want you to know that it is easy. And the more familiar you become with the four pillars of financial intelligence, the easier it becomes. Personally, I use two main vehicles to achieve financial growth: real estate and small cap stocks. I use real estate as my foundation. Day in and day out, my properties provide cash flow and occasional spurts of growth in value. The small cap stocks are used for fast growth. I do not recommend anything that I do. The examples are just that, examples. If the opportunity is too complex and I do not understand the investment, I don't do it. Simple math and common sense are all you need to do well financially. So Robert says that he is constantly being asked by people to tell them what did he do to convert some opportunities into millions of dollars. Robert says he does two things primarily. One is real estate investments, and the second one is small cap stocks. Small cap stocks means small capitalization stocks. So the stocks which are lower in value. He says, I keep it simple. I don't do complex investment strategies. It has to be simple and it has to be common sense driven. And he also says if he doesn't understand it well, he will not do it. So, very important thing that needs to be understood here is taking risk should be out of knowledge and not out of emotional impulse. People who just jump in and do something because somebody else is telling that it is good are often headed for disaster, are often moving towards the failure of their actions. So it is very important to understand what you do and do it with knowledge and awareness. That is what Robert says here. There are five reasons for using examples: to inspire people to learn more, to let people know it is easy if the foundation is strong, to show that anyone can achieve great wealth, to show that there are millions of ways to achieve your goals, to show that it's not rocket science. In 1989, I used to jog through a lovely neighborhood in Portland, Oregon. It was a suburb that had little gingerbread houses. They were small and cute. I almost expected to see little riding hood skipping down the sidewalks on her way to Granny's. There were for sale signs everywhere. The timber market was terrible, the stock market had just crashed, and the economy was depressed. On one street, I noticed a for sale sign that was up longer than most. It looked old. Jogging past it one day, I ran into the owner who looked troubled. What are you asking for your house? I asked. The owner turned and smiled weakly. Make me an offer, he said. It's been for sale for over a year. Nobody even comes by anymore to look at it. I will look, I said. And I bought the house a half an hour later for $20,000 less than his asking price. It was a cute little two-bedroom home with gingerbread trim on all the windows. It was light blue with grey accents and had been built in 1930. Inside, there was a beautiful rock fireplace as well as two tiny bedrooms. It was a perfect rental house. I gave the owner $5,000 down for a $45,000 house that was really worth $65,000. Except that no one wanted to buy it. The owner moved out in a week, happy to be free, and my first tenant moved in, a local college professor. After the mortgage, expenses, and management fees were paid, I put a little less than $40 in my pocket at the end of each month. Hardly exciting. A year later, the depressed Oregon real estate market had begun to pick up. California investors, flush with money from their still becoming booming real estate market, were moving north and buying up Oregon and Washington. I sold that little house for $95,000 to a young couple from California who thought it was a bargain. My capital gains of approximately $40,000 were placed into a 1031 tax deferred exchange, and I went shopping for a place to put my money. In about a month, I found a 12 unit apartment house right next to the Intel plant in Beaverton, Oregon. The owners lived in Germany, had no idea what the place was worth, and again, just wanted to get out of it. I offered $275,000 for a $450,000 building. They agreed to $300,000. I bought it and held it for 2 years. Utilizing the same 1031 exchange process, we sold the building for $495,000 and bought a 30 unit apartment building in Phoenix, Arizona. We had moved to Phoenix by then to get out of the rain and needed to sell anyway. Like the former Oregon market, the real estate market in Phoenix was depressed. The price of the 30 unit apartment building in Phoenix was $875,000 with $225,000 down payment. The cash flow from the 30 units was a little over $5,000 a month. See, what Robert gives as an example here of what he did was the Oregon market when it was down, he bought a house for a price which is lesser than the market price. Then after 1 year, when the market stabilized, he sold the house for a very good price, which gave him a decent $40,000 profit. Now, using that money, he bought another apartment complex, which he sold after another 2 years, and then bought another one. So it goes on like this. What Robert says is that's what he was telling in the at the earlier part of this discussion, that you have to buy when the market is down and sell when the market is up. So he bought when the market was down and he sold when the market started rising up or when the market reached its peak. So that's what he gives here as an example. The Arizona market began moving up, and a few years later, a Colorado investor offered us $1.2 million for the property. The point of this example is how a small amount can grow into a larger amount. Again, it is a matter of understanding financial statements, investment strategies, a sense of the market, and the loss. If people are not vested in these subjects, then obviously they must follow standard dogma, which is to play it safe, diversify, and only invest in secure investments. The problem with secure investments is that they are often sanitized, that is, made so safe that the gains are less. Most large brokerage houses will not touch speculative transactions in order to protect themselves and their clients. And that is a wise policy. The really hot deals are not offered to people who are novices. Often, the best deals that make the rich even richer are reserved for those who understand the game. It is technically illegal to offer speculative deals to someone who is considered not sophisticated, but of course, it happens. The more sophisticated I get, the more opportunities come my way. Very, very important. See, Robert Kiyosaki is talking about real estate investments. Now he says there are real estate firms which deal with these investments. They don't even show the investments, the properties or the assets which give higher returns to people who are not understanding the game, who don't understand the game of real estate investments. So basically, those properties which can give very high returns are reserved for the rich people because they understand the game, and that makes them even richer. Why is it not given to people who are novices or the newcomers in the market? Because they want to play it safe. Something that might come up in the future might not attract them or might not make them feel uh, secure about what they are doing. So, Robert Kiyosaki says, the more sophisticated I get, the more opportunities come my way. What is the meaning of sophistication here? The sophistication that Robert Kiyosaki is talking about is the awareness of the market, the understanding of the game, the clarity of the laws, and a clear strategy in place to play the game like a professional and not like a newcomer. Another case for developing your financial intelligence over a lifetime is simply that more opportunities are presented to you. And the greater your financial intelligence, the easier it is to tell whether a deal is good. It's your intelligence that can spot a bad deal or make a bad deal good. The more I learn, and there is a lot to learn, the more money I make simply because I gain experience and wisdom as the years go on. I have friends who are playing it safe, working hard at their profession, and failing to gain financial wisdom, which does take time to develop. My overall philosophy is to plant seeds inside my asset column. That is my formula. I start small and plant seeds. Some grow, some don't. Inside our real estate corporation, we have property worth several million dollars. It is our own REIT or real estate investment trust. The point I am making is that most of those millions started out as little as $5,000 to $10,000 investment. All of those down payments were fortunate to catch a fast rising market and increase tax free. We traded in and out several times over a number of years. So that means they bought and sold several times over a number of years. We also own a stock portfolio surrounded by a corporation that Kim and I call our personal mutual fund. We have friends who deal specifically with investors like us who have extra money each month to invest. We buy high risk, speculative private companies that are just about to go public on a stock exchange in the United States or Canada. An example of how fast gains can be made are 100,000 shares purchased for 25 cents each before the company goes public. 6 months later, the company is listed and the 100,000 shares now are worth $2 each. If the company is well managed, the price keeps going up and the stock may go to $20 or more per share. There are years when our $25,000 has gone to a million in less than a year. I repeat here, Robert says when the strategy for him to invest in stock market is to invest into companies which are about to go public. So about to go public means their shares are opened for an IPO or initial public offering. Now, when that happens and the company is managed well, there is a tremendous possibility of a significantly higher growth. Now, he says in less than a year, many times his $25,000 had also become $1 million. $25,000 to become $100,000. Million is 100,000, 100,000, not 100,000, $1,000. That is 10 lakh dollars. $25,000 going into a 10 lakh dollars in less than a year. It is not gambling if you know what you are doing. It is gambling if you are just throwing money into a deal and praying. Very important. All this might sound that this make quick money formulas. No, Robert says very clearly it is not gambling when you are doing it with knowledge. If you don't have knowledge and you are trying to do it, then it is gambling. The idea in anything is to use your technical knowledge, wisdom, and love of the game to cut the odds down and lower the risk. Of course, there is always risk. It is financial intelligence that improves the odds. Thus, what is risky for one person is less risky to someone else. That is the primary reason I constantly encourage people to invest more in their financial education than real estate or other markets. The smarter you are, the better chance you have of beating the odds. The stock plays I personally invested in were extremely high risk for most people and absolutely not recommended. I've been playing that game since 1979 and have paid more than my share in dues. But if you will reread why investments such as these are high risk for most people, you may be able to set your life up differently so that the ability to take $25,000 and turn it into $1 million in a year is low risk for you. So anything that comes with a very high return on investment is coming with a significant amount of risk. That is high risk for somebody who doesn't understand and low risk for somebody who has the knowledge to understand the risk and overcome the risk to improve their chances of success. So that is very important. As stated earlier, nothing I have written is a recommendation. It is only used as an example of what is simple and possible. What I do is small potatoes in the grand scheme of things. Yet, for the average individual, a passive income of more than $100,000 a year is nice and not hard to achieve. Depending on the market and how smart you are, it could be done in 5 to 10 years. If you keep your living expenses modest, $100,000 coming in as additional income is pleasant regardless of whether you work. You can work if you like or take time off if you choose and use the government tax system in your favor rather than against you. My personal basis is real estate. I love real estate because it's stable and slow moving. I keep the base solid. The cash flow is fairly steady and, if properly managed, has a good chance of increasing in value. Have a solid base of real estate is that it allows me to take greater risks, as I do with speculative stocks. If I make great profits in the stock market, I pay my capital gains tax on the gain and then reinvest what's left in real estate, again, further securing my asset foundation. A last word on real estate. I have traveled all over the world and taught investing. In every city, I hear people say you cannot buy real estate cheap. That is not my experience. Even in New York or Tokyo or just on the outskirts of the city, prime bargains are overlooked by most people. In Singapore, when their high real estate with their high real estate prices, there are still bargains to be found within a short driving distance. So whenever I hear someone say, "You can't do that here," pointing at me, I remind them that maybe the real statement is, "I don't know how to do that here yet." So, what Robert is telling is that opportunities are always there. Even in places which are stabilized as a real estate market, when most of the people think that you cannot get good deals here for real estate purchases, Robert says that there are always good deals wherever you go, and those deals you need to look out for those deals and have the ability to pick up on those deals. So when somebody says you can't do that here, Robert tells to himself and thinks that it is not known yet how to do it here. Great opportunities are not seen with your eyes, they are seen with your mind. Most people never get wealthy simply because they are not trained financially to recognize opportunities right in front of them. Very powerful statement. Great opportunities are not seen with your eyes, they are seen with your mind. There is another saying in English which goes like this: the eyes cannot see what the mind does not know. That is what Robert Kiyosaki is reinforcing here. So you see with your mind and not with your eyes. Most people never get wealthy simply because they are not trained financially to recognize opportunities right in front of them. I am often asked, how do I start? In the final chapter of this book, I offer 10 steps that I followed on the road to my financial freedom. But always remember to have fun. When you learn the rules and the vocabulary of investing and begin to build your asset column, I think you will find that it's as fun a game as you have ever played. Sometimes you win and sometimes you learn, but have fun. Most people never win because they are more afraid of losing. That is why I found school is silly. In school, we learn that mistakes are bad and we are punished for making them. Yet, if you look at the way humans are designed to learn, we learn by making mistakes. We learn to walk by falling down. If we never fell down, we would never walk. The same is true for learning to ride a bike. I still have scars on my knees, but today I can ride a bike without thinking. The same is true for getting rich. Unfortunately, the main reason most people are not rich is because they are terrified of losing. Winners are not afraid of losing, but losers are. Failure is part of the process of success. People who avoid failure also avoid success. Very important. If you are afraid of losing, you will never play the game, and if you never play the game, you will never have a chance to win. So, the fear of failure is a great obstacle in your journey towards success. Winners are not afraid of losing, but the losers are afraid of losing. You see that? If you are afraid of losing, you will lose. If you are not afraid of losing and you are excited about making an attempt, then you have a possibility of winning. So, very important. People who avoid failures also avoid success. because success and failure come as a package. That is what Robert says here. I look at money much like my game of tennis. I play hard, make mistakes, correct, make more mistakes, correct, and get better. If I lose the game, I reach across the net, shake my opponent's hand, smile, and say, "See you next Saturday." There are two kinds of investors. The first and most common type is a person who buys a packaged investment. They call a retail outlet such as a real estate company, a stockbroker, or a financial planner, and they buy something. It could be a mutual fund, a REIT, a stock, or a bond. It is a clean and simple way of investing. An analogy would be a shopper who goes to a computer store and buys a computer right off the shelf. The second type is an investor who creates investments. This investor usually assembles a deal in the same way a person who buys components builds a computer. I do not know the first thing about putting components of a computer together, but I do know how to put pieces of opportunities together or know people who know how. It is this second type of investor who is the more professional investor. Sometimes it may take years for all the pieces to come together, and sometimes they never do. It's this second type of investor that my rich dad encouraged me to be. It is important to learn how to put the pieces together because that is where the huge wins reside and sometimes some huge losses if the tide goes against you. If you want to be the second type of investor, you need to develop three main skills. So Robert is talking about two types of investors. One type of investors who goes to people who are experts in the field and buys investments from them. The second type of investor will understand about the investments and go and puts the investment together by themselves. So these are the people who are more professional, who understand how to invest and what are all the things that they want and assemble all those things together and build up a good investment portfolio. So Robert says, if you want to develop as the second type of investor, you need to have three main skills. What are the three main skills? Find an opportunity that everyone else missed. Two, raise money. Three, organize smart people. You should be able to do all these three things. Let us go one by one. Find an opportunity that everyone else missed. You see with your mind what others miss with their eyes. For example, a friend bought this rundown old house. It was spooky to look at. Everyone wondered why he bought it. When he saw that we did not was that the house came with four extra empty lots. So what he saw that we did not was that the house came with four extra empty lots. He discovered that after going to the title company. After buying the house, he tore the house down and sold the five lots to a builder for three times what he paid for the entire package. He made $75,000 for 2 months of work. It's not a lot of money, but it sure beats minimum wage and it's not technically difficult. Second skill, raise money. So the first skill is see what everybody else is missing. Second is raise money. The average person only goes to the bank. This second type of investor needs to know how to raise capital, and there are many ways that don't require a bank. To get started, I learned how to buy houses without a bank. It was the learned skill of raising money more than the houses themselves that was priceless. All too often, I hear people say, the bank won't lend me money or I don't have the money to buy it. If you want to be a type 2 investor, you need to learn how to do that, which stops most people. In other words, a majority of people let their lack of money stop them from making a deal. If you can avoid that obstacle, you will be millions ahead of those who don't learn those skills. There have been many times I have bought a house, a stock, or an apartment building without a penny in the bank. I once bought an apartment house for $1.2 million. Dollars. I did what is called tying it up with a written contract between selling and buyer. I then raised the $100,000 deposit, which bought me 90 days to raise the rest of the money. Why did I do it? Simply because I knew it was worth $2 million. I never raised the money. Instead, the person who put up the $100,000 gave me $50,000 for finding the deal, took over my position, and I walked away. Total working time 3 days. Again, it's what you know more than what you buy. Investing is not buying, it's more a case of knowing. So not only thinking about where to get the money from in terms of the conventional ways of getting money from the bank and other institutions, but also being able to put together the money that is required by working out smart contracts. Number three, the third skill that one needs to have to become a good investor is organize smart people. Intelligent people are those who work with or hire a person who is more intelligent than they are. When you need advice, make sure you choose your advisor wisely. So there's a lot to learn, but the rewards can be astronomical. If you do not want to learn those skills, then being a type 1 investor is highly recommended. It is what you know that is your greatest wealth. It is what you do not know that is your greatest risk. There is always risk, so learn to manage risk instead of avoiding it. All right. So, Robert Kiyosaki, in conclusion of this chapter, chapter number 5, says that there is always risk associated with whatever you do. You have to learn to manage the risk and not avoid the risk. If you can learn to manage the risk, you will gain knowledge, and that knowledge is what will give you your wealth. What you don't know is your risk. So remember this, go to bed with this thought in mind that what you know is your wealth and what you don't know is your risk. So, with this, we come to the end of reading the chapter 5 or the lesson 5 of Rich Dad Poor Dad. In the next session tomorrow, we'll start with the lesson 6, which is work to learn, don't work for money. See you all until the next session. Good night, and let more and more financial knowledge come your way. Take care. See you all. Good night.